Hi, Bruce Robinson here again from the Fathering Project. This week we're talking about unconditional love, and if you're familiar with the Fathering Project, you know about the BUS concept, B-U-S, and the U stands for unconditional love. And you know, it sounds like a great phrase, unconditional love, but in our experience in the Fathering Project, it's pretty hard to pull this off, so we need to talk about it. And one of the reasons it's hard to pull off is it's actually really counterintuitive. I mean, most of society rewards performance. You think about the news and newspapers and workplaces and school, it rewards performance. So to have an affection for someone without conditions is really counterintuitive. But it's really important, really, really important. It affects a kid for the rest of their life. Boy, I've seen this. People who are really successful and they're still trying to please a father whose love depended on their performance, honestly. And we're not political in the Fathering Project, but I did read a story about Donald Trump and his sister, or somebody said he's still trying to get the love of his father. Honestly, to love a child unconditionally is very hard to do, but it affects them for the rest of their life. So let's talk about what it means to love a child unconditionally. When you think about unconditional love, we're talking about a child understanding that your love does not depend on their performance. So let's think about a few of these. Firstly, academic performance. Honestly, kids nowadays are under a lot of pressure to perform academically, and they get a sense that they please their parents if they get a good report card, and not so much if they don't. And we tell the story in the Fathering Project about the 11th commandment. So Moses went up the hill, came down with 10 commandments: don't kill, don't steal, don't covet your neighbour's wife, all this sort of stuff. And everyone said, oh yeah, fair enough, Moses, and they all nicked off. But there was a voice from the hill came, hey Moses, you forgot one, mate. Goes up, took a long time, about 100 years old, comes back down with number 11. But there's no one there to listen, but he reads it out anyway. This is what it says: thou shalt not covet your neighbour's children's exam results. There's always an unconscious laugh with the dads when we tell them that, because they know that they have some bragging rights through their kids. So it's easy for a child to think that your love, Dad, depends on their academic performance, but it could depend on their sporting performance. If they're a daughter, it could depend on their looks. Are they pretty? Are they not? It could depend on their behaviour. One child is well behaved, the other child gets into trouble with the school principal, and the second child thinks, if only I behaved better, my dad would love me. He only loves number one because number one behaves well. And for some families, it depends on their beliefs. If the family has a certain set of beliefs, be they political beliefs or religious beliefs, and one child decides to go against that, that child can think, you know what, I don't think my family love me anymore. Don't imagine that this is easy. Think about it yourself. All of those things that I've just said, is that you? Let's say you've got two children. One of them's really bright and the other one isn't. And as you try to help the second one to do better at school, it's easy for them to think, my dad would love me if only I was as good at school as my brother, or sport or whatever. It's very easy. What I'm saying is it's hard to show love unconditionally. It's really hard. And most of the dads we talk to don't do very well at it. So we're going to give you some specific tips and ways in which you can show unconditional love for your kids. The first is to be explicit. Tell them that they're loved simply because of who they are. Some dads say to me, oh, I don't need to tell them. They know already. Be explicit. Tell them. Actually use the words. The second tip is that you need to make it clear that your love is unconditional even when you disagree. For example, talking about politics or anything, drugs or something, that your love for them doesn't depend on them agreeing with you. Otherwise you'll produce a yes person, a people pleaser. Set a goal to never end the day without letting your child know that they're loved and that they're loved unconditionally. Surprise them sometimes by telling them about your love even when they don't expect it. I remember once I was with my number 2 son, who's fairly quiet, and I decided to do this. And we were, I think, just talking about footy or something, cricket, which we do a lot. And I had decided, make sure that day I tell him. And we were talking about, hey mate, who do you think should win this game or whatever? And I said, oh, one more thing, mate. What's that, Dad? Mate, I love you so much. He looked really shocked. He knows it, but I thought, take the opportunity. So dads, try to make sure that you are intentional about telling your kids. Another good tip is to write how you feel about them in cards and notes and emails and text messages, telling them how much you love them. And finally, dads, remember, children are not your bragging rights. It's great to encourage them. And a lot of dads will say, well, I talk about my kids to let them know that I'm proud of them. But it crosses a line between it being about the kids, where you're proud of them and encouraging them, to it being about you and your ego. Remember, dads, don't ever let your kids be your bragging rights. They will see that and they will feel that, and it won't work. Dads, when it comes to unconditional love, the reason that we say you got to make an effort is that kids can spot a fake. If you say, hey, I love you, I love you, I love you, kids can pretty soon spot a fake. So make sure you show them that your love is unconditional. And what you want is for your kids to grow up, and when someone says to them, you know, did you ever feel loved by your dad? They say, yes, because he told me all the time, and I knew it didn't depend on my performance, but he showed me as well.